Hi J3, I'm back and ready to do chapter 19 of our book. I hope you're all well. It's nice that some of you have been keeping in touch with me on the school portal. It'd be lovely to hear from more of you. Quick reminder of the book then, if you remember, Lupe and Isa were in the labyrinth and unfortunately the Tipikinas had charged past them and the map has been ripped up into pieces. I did not know what to do. We couldn't stay here now that the Tipikinas had our scent, but we did not know the way, nor what lay ahead. To my surprise, Lupe did not shout or blame me. She knelt and began gathering up the fragments. "Leave them," I said quietly. "There's no point." Tears threatened. That was Ma's map, all I had left of her. Lupe ignored me and collected as many bits of the map as she could. She piled them carefully and held them out. I rubbed my eyes fiercely. "It's all right to be scared, Isabella," she said. "I'm scared too." I looked up, blinking hard. Her expression was soft, and I remembered that face from years before, from the day we first became friends. Lupe holding out her hand as I sat crying by the abandoned rabbit warren, missing Gabo. I took the fragments. The satchel strap had also snapped, so I emptied it, putting the keys and fragments in the pouch on my belt. I kept the blade in my hand, the worn leather of the handle comforting. "What now?" Lupe asked, suddenly brisk. I squeezed my eyes shut and again tried to call the map to memory. I knew we were close to where the map had indicated an exit. When I had looked just before the first Tibikina arrived, where had we been? The answer bubbled up behind my closed lids. Southeast, beneath the Arantara. That was it. The tunnel had curved and turned, but had roughly followed the line of the river. What next? The three possible routes onwards. "Isabella?" Lupe's voice sent the vision of the map spiralling away, but it didn't matter, I knew. "We need to take the right passage." "Yes, but how are we meant to know which one that is?" "No, the right-hand passage," I pointed. "That one." She looked at me doubtfully. "That's where they came from." "They came from everywhere," I said impatiently. "That's the way out. We need to follow it to a sort of twisty bit." "Twisty bit?" "Yes, like a knotted rope, but if we stay on the left side of the knot and take the path off it, we'll get there." I was almost sure. Almost. We continued in silence. The path led downwards. The only good thing about the destruction of the map was now we could use the water for drinking. We passed a wide turn-off scored with paw prints, and I felt Lupe relax slightly as I led us past into a narrower tunnel that was unmarked. The heat was growing, and soon I had a throbbing ache drilling deep behind my temple. The sharp smell became stronger until the air was barely breathable. My head was light, and the world around me felt soft and too close. I blinked, trying to push everything back into focus. Lupe seemed dizzy too, stumbling occasionally and dragging her feet. Worst of all was the sameness of the surroundings. Without a sky, time meant nothing. I measured the distance by the ache in my legs. I longed for the clear skies above Gramera, bright with sun or even stars, even the haze of the forgotten territories and the fearful wind of the Carmant village. My knee jarred painfully, the tunnel suddenly horizontal, curved sharply ahead, and its height dropped by almost a metre. Head bowed, we walked on, the ceiling continuing to slope until we were bent almost double. The Tibikinas would surely have trouble fitting through this space if they tracked us here. But what if I was taking us the wrong way? We'd be trapped. My throat tightened, but we had to keep moving. The tunnel continued closing in until we were crawling on our bellies, clothes catching on the rough edges of the rock. It would be impossible to turn back in such a small space. I followed closely behind Lupe's feet and tried not to think about the massive weight hanging above us, the whole of Joya poised over our heads. The tunnel curved again. I guessed we were in what I had called a twisty bit, the tunnel looping back on itself. This passage should intersect with others soon, and then we would take the first left, hopefully to an exit. I drew in a long, steadying breath, the air sharp in my chest. "Lupe, I think we're going the right way." "I hope so," came her muffled reply as she spoke over her shoulder. "I don't think I can stand this much longer." "Well, no, we can't stand at all." "At least you're small." Lupe's laugh was cut short. Her head and upper body rapidly disappeared, legs slithering after. I reached out, dropping the woodlight in my panic, but was left grasping air. Lupe! A muted thump from the darkness ahead. Lupe! Her reply made me jump, sending rock dust streaming. I'm all right. It's only a short slope, is there? You've got to see this. What is it? Just lower yourself down. It's safe. I inched ahead, feeling for the edge. I dropped the blade and heard it clatter down, then hung for a moment, letting my weight tip me forward. It was not an elegant landing, and I only just missed the blade. I waited for Lupe to laugh, but she was oddly silent, standing at the centre of a cave, face tilted up. I did not need the woodlight to see her, because its glow bounced back at me from all directions. 1,000,000 crystals arched over our heads, throwing out light that danced and shifted like underground stars. Even the rock beneath my knees glinted below the glittering ceiling. Dar had told Gabo about places like this. I've never seen one, but once I met a man who had found a crystal cave under a river. Some crystals are formed by waters, others by fire. And as there was no water here, no river, it had to be fire. There are 2 kinds of crystals. One is granite, a light-coloured rock, and like you two, it has a twin, a dark version of itself. Its name is Gabbro. Gabbro. Now as I stood, surrounded by the walls of glittering crystals, that coincidence came back to me like a gift. Something clicked slowly into place like a sum. It all added up. The smell, the crystals, the heat. I could not ignore it any longer. Lupe, I think I know what this is. Lupe didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the crystals. I took another deep breath and said, It's a fire pit. That's what's formed these. Fire pits happen where the ground is so hot it melts. Imagine that, whole lands filled with flame. Sometimes it rises and swallows entire towns. Gabo hadn't liked that, but Dar had calmed him. But more often they sleep and rumble a bit, or make crystals like twins. I opened my mouth to tell Lupe, but she was looking at me oddly. Did you say a fire pit? Just like in the myth of Arinta, I recalled Mars' map, how the lines had seemed jumbled but still led to the centre. That strange red circle at the centre of a map, 1,000 years old. I took a deep breath of acidic air. A demon's promise lasts 1,000 years. What are you thinking? Lupe's face was wary. I was thinking of the drought. I was thinking of the governor's animals fleeing to the sea. I was thinking of the people in Gree, poisoned by the air. The knot on the map was close to the red circle, I said carefully. Maybe only a mile. I think the exit's that way. I pointed to a tunnel on our left. But that way leads to the red circle. I pointed to another, lower tunnel ahead. It shimmered in a different way from the crystals. It shimmered with heat. So? I nearly changed my mind, but now was not the time to doubt. Yote is in that red circle. Yote? She wrinkled her nose. From that story you like? I bristled. He's a fire demon, and it's not a story, it's a myth. What's the difference? Irritated, I rubbed my eyes, grit grinding against my lids. A myth is something that happened so long ago, people like to pretend it's not real, even when it is. Lupe did not say anything for a long time. When she spoke, it was in a careful, calming voice, as if to a dangerous animal. Isabella, Yote is no more real than Arinta. Arinta was real, my voice echoed around the cave. And anyway, what about the Tibaquinas? They seemed real when they were chasing us. Maybe the horse boy was right, she said in a determined voice. Maybe there were wolves. Wolves as big as horses, whose fur stinks of smoke? Because they live underground, near a fire pit. They're driven by more than hunger. They didn't eat Kata, they killed her, left her to be found. A warning, Doce called it. They've been sent to clear the island. Don't be stupid, Isabella. You've got to stop believing these things. But Arinta is a story, and you're not her. Her words hurt, but I wasn't about to let her see that. I don't think I'm... If you're telling me that's the way out, I'm going, and you're coming with me. You can't tell me what to do. I'm older than you. I don't care. I snatched the woodlight from her. I'm going without you. Not looking at Lupe, I strode towards the passage, shimmering with heat. A sudden pulse shook the ground beneath me. I stumbled and almost fell. Lupe had been brought to her knees. Another, more violent shudder ran through my body. A single crystal fell from the cave ceiling high above and shattered between us. We locked eyes for a moment. Then the world caved in. Oh dear, yet again, I'm afraid, J3, we leave a chapter on a bit of a knife edge with them in danger yet again. I shall be back soon with chapter 20. Keep safe, have fun, and keep in touch with me. Bye.